more and more lately, people are hating on minimalism. I myself have definitely participated in this, right? And I understand it. I understand it to a great extent, right? Minimalism, when done wrong, when, it's vector minimalism, that sort of boring corporate look, it sucks. It sucks, and it makes going outside and looking at billboards a lot more boring than it used to be. Something that you didn't think could get more boring. However, I would like to go on the record here today and say I was wrong. I was wrong about minimalism. It's not that minimalism in itself is bad. It's that minimalism has grown so mainstream that it is now misunderstood, right? And I want to make sure that I make that distinction, right? It's more of a bastardization of minimalism that people are hating on. But where do you learn about original minimalism? How can you see original minimalism when it's no longer in advertising? Well, I learned about minimalism in the most curious way, right? I think I figured it out in the most interesting way you can. A BLT. Now, stay with me here. The bacon, lettuce, tomato sandwich. I know this sounds weird. I know this is going to sound insane. I am dead serious though. And I think if you stick with me, you'll understand why. So, let me start off by saying I am a sandwich maestro. You will not find anybody that does sandwiches like I do sandwiches. This is real. This is a fact. I mean this dead seriously. I am so into sandwiches. Here's my credentials. Recently, I had some friends who went, I had this sandwich 4 hours away that blew my mind. It was one of the best sandwiches I've had. What did I say? I said, let's go. 4 hours of driving later, we get to this sandwich, spent a whole day, take 2 bites, 7 out of 10. They said, you're doing too much. I said, this sandwich isn't doing enough. I am dedicated to truth in sandwiches. I make a sandwich every day for lunch. I've never made anything that's above an 8 out of 10. I'm not biased. I'm an honest actor in the sandwich game, right? So, I think many can relate to maybe their first time having a BLT. It's sort of a shocking experience, right? Because you hear about a BLT and you're like, yeah, if you've never had a BLT, you're probably sitting here right now, you're thinking one of two things. Either you're thinking, I don't like tomatoes. Grow up, click off. I don't want you watching if you're 5 years old, okay? Or 2, you're thinking, yeah, I know exactly what that would be like. Like it's bacon, lettuce, and tomato. It's going to be extremely predictable, right? Now, it is so interesting. The first time I had one, it kind of blew me away because it's a unique flavor. Like the sandwich of a BLT does not make, it's not bacon, lettuce, and tomatoes. It's a whole new sandwich, as all great sandwiches should be. Honestly, if your BLT is made correctly, which most aren't, but if your BLT is made correctly with very thinly sliced tomatoes, a layer of lettuce that's exactly equal, and 3 slices of bacon, medium thickness, you're not gonna be able to taste any of the ingredients. You will only taste a BLT, right? Extremely interesting. Because I think this is so interesting because 3 simple ingredients, dare I call it a minimalist sandwich, come together to make a new, unique flavor. Now, how does this teach us about minimalism? Well, for me, minimalism is good minimalism, right? Not this bastardized version of minimalism that all these companies are doing. Good minimalism is when you are able to take three elements and put them together. Now, what are the 3 elements? I don't know. When it comes to design, when it comes to anything like that, you can take a lot more than you can with a BLT, right? And you can put them together, and these 3 simple ingredients now become their own unique flavor. Minimalism, in this regard, is just a way of making sure that flavor is the only thing that sticks out, right? Let's continue this analogy with the BLT here, right? So, a lot of people, what they like to do with their BLT, and I think that this is heresy, they like to add turkey or avocado. Now, let me say, if you add turkey and avocado to a BLT, that's not a turkey avocado BLT, that's a whole new sandwich, right? The BLT must remain in its form, because when you add all those, it's still a great sandwich, it still tastes great, right? In Cape Cod, there's a sandwich named the Sam Bellamy. It's a turkey avocado BLT with pepper jack cheese. One of the best sandwiches I've ever had, right? However, it's not a BLT. Nobody can call it a BLT, even though it says bacon avocado turkey avocado BLT on the menu. It's not. It's a whole new sandwich, and it tastes different as such, right? Now, why is this not a BLT? Because the BLT flavor is not the main player. Minimalism is very similar to this, right? When you take a minimalist design, the reason it's minimalist is not because you just want to make it easy to make, and that's where this is going wrong, right? And I'm gonna get to that in a second, right? That's where minimalism has kind of lost its way. But you don't want minimalism because it's easy to make. You want minimalism so this flavor sticks out. Just like you don't make a BLT because it takes less time, because you gotta hurry for lunch. You make a BLT because you want that flavor, right? Nobody's making a BLT because they're like, oh, I don't have time to put turkey and avocado on. No, they want that flavor. Minimalism's the same way. It is not a lack of elements because you want it to like be easier or replicable very easily. You want those lack of elements because you want that flavor that you're creating with a limited number of elements to stick out. Now, of course, there's the elephant in the room here. What you need to make sure these elements are great. That's where a skilled designer comes in. Can I sit here right now and say 100% that I could design something that is minimalist and has just the right number of elements and can perfectly have a distinct flavor? Definitely not live on this show, and it'd probably take me some time to do it off show, right? That's not an easy thing to do. Dare I say, nowadays, less designers are doing it right than not, right? The BLT is kind of a unique sandwich in this regard too, right? Just as minimalism is something that like it's hard to do correctly because you need a very skilled eye, probably admittedly a better eye than I have, to make it work well. The BLT is the same way. You can't just combine 3 ingredients on a sandwich and make a BLT, right? Most sandwiches are not as minimalist as the BLT, and that's for good reason, because it doesn't work if you just take any 3 ingredients. This is where we're going wrong in minimalism. A lot of companies are going, if, let's say instead of companies doing minimalism or a sandwich shop making sandwiches, the head chef is like, these BLTs, they're easy because they're cheap to produce, and people can make them in seconds. We can get so many BLTs out. And then he goes, he makes a grave mistake. He goes, okay, everybody, we're gonna make all our sandwiches with that formula from now on. 2 vegetables, 1 meat, maybe mayo, right? Now what are you making? You're making like arugula, pickle, and ham. And listen, is that gonna taste fine? It's gonna taste fine, but it's not gonna be the same as the BLT. It's not gonna be as unique of an experience. This is what so many design firms and companies are now doing, right? Whereas they had this great thing with minimalism, right? Yeah, it's a limited number of elements with a flavor that sticks out, and it happens to be easy to reproduce and easy to make because of pricing and all these different things that go into how design works, right? The wrong thing to do when you have a design like that is 100% to go, let's replicate this en masse just because it's easy to make, not because it looks good. That is what has caused us to end up in this situation, right? This is what I think makes minimalism so special that we've sort of lost, right? Whereas, and I think, if you're so inclined, you can kind of detect a very common story in here to one that happens all the time, right? A good thing comes in design or in art, and because of money and all these other interests, it gets worsened. It becomes bad because of all these other things that are getting involved that should never have gotten involved in the first place. Just like a sandwich shop will end up making a lot of bad sandwiches right next to their BLTs because it's cheap and effective to do. A lot of design firms are taking minimalism and bastardizing it because it's cheap and effective to do. So, what can we learn about this? Well, minimalism is not, just as the BLT is not a sandwich that you should just replicate en masse, neither is minimalism. It's a tool to be used, right? If you make a perfect sandwich, right? And let's say, I think Chick-fil-A does this pretty well, for an example. The Chick-fil-A sandwich is just a piece of chicken, cheese on top, pickle, and sauce, right? Very simple, it's a very simple sandwich, right? And they can end up using it in that own simple form, and it works, it does work well, right? They know how to do this, and when they stumble upon that, they use it right? I think minimalism needs to be used the same way. When you have a sandwich, let's say Chick-fil-A, I don't know if this is how their sandwich came out, let's say they first made it with the lettuce and tomato and they took it off, right? If you have a sandwich that you can do that with, you should 100% do it. If you can go, this kind of stars the show better if you strip this back a little bit. 100%, and that's almost like, the Coco Chanel rule. Coco Chanel, famous fashion designer. Pretty sure she was like a French spy or something I heard. I don't know if that's true. But it's not patent talk unless we spread some misinformation. She 100% had this rule where, I don't know why I just said 100%, that didn't make sense in that sentence, but she had this rule where she would say you take 2 things off every time you leave the house, right? And listen, I don't know, Coco Chanel probably had some amazing outfits, right? I know if I took 2 things off right now, I would just be in a t-shirt and jeans. You know, I shouldn't be doing that, right? Minimalism's much the same way. Just like you gotta know, you only apply the Coco Chanel rule if you have a crazy outfit, and you should just limit it down to the good things about it by taking off, you know, the 10 bracelets you're wearing, take off a couple of those, right? Minimalism the same way. When you make a design, you shouldn't just take things out. But if you go, well, these 2 things are here and they don't really need to be, they're kind of distracting from the larger picture here, take those out. Now, do you have a minimalist design? Maybe. Maybe you don't. You know, what is the definition of minimalism? How many elements make up minimalism? It's an elephant in the room that won't be answered in this video. But if you're taking those elements down and it refines the flavor to be louder where it needs to be, by also making the whole design quieter overall, then you should use that tool. You should not, however, use it because it's easy, right? We don't make BLTs every day for lunch because they're a hack. We make them because they happen to be amazing and easy to make. We need to use design, we need to use art the same way. Minimalism has no place unless it's used right. That's my take on BLTs and minimalism. I know that was really weird. Let me also say, yes, I was eating a BLT for lunch today, and that's how I discovered this. However, I think it's a surprisingly effective way to talk about minimalism, because I do think that we've sort of lost our way on what makes minimalism a good thing. But yeah, let me know what you guys think. You know, I was also trying to think of other sandwiches that are in the league of the BLT, and I don't know if there's any other sandwich connoisseurs in the comments. Very likely there's nobody that's at least on my level of being a sandwich maestro, but there could be some. So, you know, if you have any other sandwiches that are like the BLT, that simple and work that well, comment them below. I'd love to try and make them. Yeah, this is the painting. We're with blue now, we're with blue. I really liked it until I did this black all over it, but I still think it looks cool. I still think it's like a nice look overall, so yeah. Check this out on the TikTok and the Instagram. Go read the Substack to support the show. And until next time, guys, gals, and pals, my name is Max Dice. This is Paint Talk episode 326. And I'm here every morning painting and talking with you all.